Hello. Welcome to Superheroes and Heels, the podcast where women in business are reminded to step into their power, create the lives and the careers that they truly want. Here we fiercely empower women in believing that they are more capable and more valuable than they might even believe for themselves. The goal is to inspire you to step into owning your role with command presence, stepping in bravely, and being the strong woman that you're meant to be. Ladies, somewhere along the way, we were taught that success means fewer problems. That if we just work harder, get smarter, or finally feel ready, then problems will stop. Well, let me lovingly burst that bubble for you. Sorry, ladies, that's not the case. Problems don't stop, they upgrade. Oh my gosh. And the women who rise up, they don't avoid problems, they know how to handle them. So welcome back to Superheroes and Heels. I'm Kimberly Borgens, and today we're talking about the word that nobody wants to talk about, but every successful woman must master, and that is the word problems. Look, there's this belief that most women, carry around quietly. Like, if I could just make the problems go away, I'll finally be okay. But here's the truth, ladies. Problems are not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Problems are the proof that you're in the game. Woo! Think about that one for a minute. You could create this whole paradigm shift today if you could create that shift. There is no growth without friction. There's no leadership without decisions. There's no success without trade-offs. And there's no big vision without complex problems. When you were earlier in your career or starting out in your business, the problems were small, right? How can I do this? What do I need to do? Will they take me seriously? Am I good enough, right? And as you grow, you discover that the problems sound a little bit different. For example, who do I trust? What do I say no to? How do I lead without burning out? Or what happens if the decision is wrong? Look, ladies, that's not failure. That's elevation, right? We really have to think about that for a moment. The goal is not to be problem-free. The goal is to become the woman who knows what to do when the problems show up. Problems show up all the time. And the more successful you become, the more problems there are. And if you look at problems instead of as problems and more like a learning lesson, then you get the skill set to understand that you know how to solve problems. So who struggles the most with problem solving? Well, let's talk about women in business, especially high capacity women. Like, we avoid risks because we don't want problems as women. Men love risks, right? They're just going to run off into the dark and figure it out. But we don't want to do it because we don't want to take those risks because there's going to be new problems, right? We overthink decisions to prevent possible problems, right? We think about it so long that eventually somebody else makes the decision for us. Or we carry the problems alone because we don't want to be the problem for somebody else. Right? We'll bend over backwards before we'll inconvenience somebody else, right? But we're quietly inconveniencing ourselves into burnout? Ooh, did I just was that a mic drop for somebody? There are some patterns that I see constantly in the women that I work with, that I'm in community with, that I'm friends with even, right? What happens is the words that come out of your mouths are, I'll figure this out by myself. Or it's not that bad yet. How about, I don't want to bother anyone? What if they think I can't handle it? What if? Strong women don't avoid asking for help. We just weren't taught that help is a leadership skill. right? It's no different than the quarterback on the football team who has to practice the skill of throwing the ball to the right person, right? The basketball player who has to bounce and bounce so many balls and then shoot the hoops to try to make baskets. It's a skill that they learn over time. Women in business asking for help is a leadership skill that we have to practice, do over and over and over again until we get proficient at asking the right way, respectfully, without whining, without, begging, pleading. It's a skill set that we have to master. And somewhere along the way, competence got confused with isolation. And heck, I just did a whole leadership podcast episode on loneliness at the top. And here's how it often starts is by not willing to ask for help. Look, leadership isn't about carrying everything. It's about knowing what needs your attention and what needs support. Problems don't hurt us when they show up. They hurt us when we ignore them, when we delay them, when we deny them. That's when they start to hurt us. A problem showing up goes, whoo, pay attention to me for a minute. There's some warning signs that you might, be caught up in a problem trap, right? If you're caught up in a problem trap, these are some of the warning signs. You feel annoyed instead of curious about how to solve that problem. Oh, another problem, right? I mean, think about that, right? You keep saying, I'll deal with it later. Yeah, I'll get to it, right? Or you're normalizing chaos. I don't know about you, but I do not enjoy chaos, right? If you enjoy chaos and that's fun for you, that might be part of the issue. Don't normalize chaos. What you want to do is create the space that this is a problem. What are the skills that I have, or what are the skills that I need to fix this? Right? Or another sign is you're reacting instead of leading. This is where a lot of micromanaging steps in. Problems don't go away because you're busy. They grow because they're unattended. What starts out as a small tension, a small problem, becomes resentment, feels big. What starts out as a small leak becomes a crisis when it's not paid attention to. What starts as a quiet discomfort becomes burnout because it just becomes too much. Leadership isn't about never having problems, right? It really is about understanding that you have problems and that it's about addressing them before they start running the show. Ladies, you are capable of solving the problems that are presented before you. You're capable of doing it. You might not have the skill set in the moment, but you can ask for support. You can figure it out. I had a client who she just kept ignoring the problem, kept ignoring the problem, and ended up in severe, and I mean severe financial debt with the IRS because she just thought it would go away if she ignored it enough. That is not where I want to come in with a client. By the grace of God, I had the skill set to be able to handle this with this person, to be able to get her in the right direction, to stop the bleeding and to get the support that she needed, including the person who could talk to the IRS and get it resolved quickly. So just know, you asking for help. I know for me as a business consultant and as a business coach, for women in these leadership roles who are, standing in their presence, know that they're going to fall on their face every now and then. And when they do, they can pick up the phone and they can call me back. Past clients can always call me back and say, hey, Kimberly, I need help with this. They're not afraid to ask for help because they've worked with me and they see that I have no judgment around it, that I want to support you in your business. I want to see women in business succeed because I know what it feels like to be at the bottom, be the single mom on welfare that everybody thought would never amount to anything. to now be the leader, the CEO of a successful corporation, with 75 employees for 35 years now, because I know that I don't ever want to go back there again. And think about it for you. If you want to be successful, you don't have to want to or desire to be at the level of success that I am. And to tell you the God's honest truth, I never had that aspiration to be where I am today. It just happened as I continued to grow and stepped into more of my leadership and learn new skills. We're able to take on more problems, have bigger problems, and solve those quickly. Problems happen every single day. Right before I got on this call, a couple more problems showed up, and I go, okay, here's how we're going to handle it. Oh, you know what? I got to record this podcast. I'll solve that problem in a little bit, right? So you just have to figure out, can you solve the problem, which we know you can when you have the right support, the right skill sets, the right team to ask of it. So just know, again, like I said, leadership isn't about never having problems. It's about addressing them before they start running the show. I don't know about you. I don't want the problems running my show. I want to be in control of my decisions and how I handle it. And that's how powerful women handle problems differently. That the shift has happened. Okay. Successful women don't ask, how do I make the problem disappear? All right. They ask, what is this problem teaching me? What decision is being asked of me? What standard needs to be raised? What boundary needs to be enforced? Right? They don't personalize every problem. An employee doesn't show up and I'll go, oh, it's my fault. Not what I'm doing. They didn't show up. Great. I move on. Who can fill that space? What can we do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? Check in with the employee. Make sure that they're okay. These are the solutions to the things that come up in my world all the time. Think about, what are the solutions for you that need to come up in your world? When something happens, how can you quickly come into that space of solution, not the space of this is a problem. Top women, what we do, we don't personalize the problem. Okay. We don't catastrophize the problem at all. We don't want to, it's not a catastrophe, ladies. It's just the next thing in business, right? We don't wait until it's unbearable and feels so uncomfortable. We handle the problems early. We handle them quickly. We handle them directly, and we handle them cleanly. Powerful women, we name the problem instead of dancing around it. Okay. This is a problem. This is what needs to get solved. All right, team, let's come together. Let's solve this. Give me your suggestions. Sometimes I go in and say, okay, here's the problem. How would you solve it? I already know how I would solve it, but I'm giving my team the opportunity to see problem and solve it. See, I'm trying to build up leaders, right? Powerful women, we decide faster, even when it's uncomfortable. If a problem isn't urgent, I can take it to my team. If it is urgent, they might not ever see it. It just gets resolved because that's what's needed. And I bring the right people in instead of carrying it alone. Look, I don't have to have the solution to the problem. If I have a team, I'll let them come up with the solution. And maybe their solution is different than mine, but it could still work. I'm going, okay, let's go with that. Right? I don't have to be the only problem solver. And the other thing that we do as successful women is we stay curious instead of defensive. There's a problem? What? I can't believe it. There's a problem? Really? What's the problem? What have we tried so far? What are we going to do next? Right? I mean, think about it. If you got into that space where you could be excited about a problem, it's like it's the next thing. Look, I have to tell you, I just had a conversation with my husband just this past weekend, and I was saying to him, like, all right, I didn't know when we were doing this that it was going to create this and create this and create this. Man, oh man, like I probably should have done way more research than what I had thought, right? Like I didn't expect it. Sometimes we're doing something, it's the right thing, and we do the right thing, and then all of a sudden somebody needs more information and somebody needs, more context and somebody wants more data, right? And it starts creating this boom, 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 boom ripple effect of, okay, here's what we need now. Here's like, I was just like, whoa, I didn't expect all of that in the process that we thought we were just doing this, right? You have to understand problems become manageable when we stop treating them like they're a verdict and start treating them like information. It's information. I don't have that system in place for that problem yet, right? I haven't experienced that problem before. So now I have to come up with a process for that problem, right? Not everything, but some things. If it's a problem that came up and you're like, ooh, this could come up again in the future. Okay, what are we going to put into place for that? So I really want you to start looking at the problem as this is just information that we need to solve, that we need to figure out, that we need to resolve in some cases. Okay. With that being said, let's just kind of wind this down a little bit. What does this mean for you right now in your business? Let me ask you this question. Some honestly is like, what problem are you currently ignoring, brushing off, trying to hide, or ignoring, thinking that it will eventually go away? Maybe it's a conversation that you haven't had yet, the decision that you keep delaying. Maybe it's a system that isn't working anymore, or the boundary that you keep explaining instead of enforcing. Do you realize that every time that you ignore or brush off a problem and you let go of it, you let go of your own power. You let somebody else make the decision for you because you're not making the decision around it. You're brushing it off, you're blowing it off, you're ignoring it. You're like, somebody else can handle that. And you give up your power to make the decision, to solve the problem. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to give up my power. I don't want to give my power away. I've been fighting too hard in a male-dominated industry for way too long for me to be willing to do that. And you shouldn't be willing to do it either. That problem, it is not a threat. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to lead at the level that you say that you want to be at. Well, did you hear that? Let me say that one more time. It's an invitation to lead at the level that you say that you want to play at. The problems don't show up at the level that you've been in. The problems show up at the level in which you say you want to play at. Because the woman who rises isn't the woman with fewer problems. The woman who rises, she addresses them sooner. She handles them cleaner, right? She learns from them faster. And she doesn't let them erode her confidence. Hint, ladies, you get that one? Do not let it erode your confidence. Here's a truth that I really want you to take away from today. Problems don't mean that you're failing. They mean that you're expanding. And expansion always comes with complexity. So straighten up your cape, put on your heels, put them on firm ground, and remember that you don't need fewer problems. You need stronger problem-solving skills, stronger problem handling skills, right? You are way more capable than you think that you are. The problem is you're being the problem if you just ignore, let them go, hope that they'll go away. Ladies, you are way more capable than that. You are so much more stronger than that. And that's what I hope that you step into today. Thanks so much for joining me here on Superheroes in Heels. You can go to my website, KimberlyBorgens.com. There's some free downloads there on some different things that, I'd love for you to try out. Also, visit me over in the Hive Hangout. You can get there through KimberlyBorgens.com. And if this episode hit home for you, share it with another woman who's carrying more than she should. Until next time, lead boldly, decide cleanly, and never confuse struggle with weakness.